Stocks close higher on Wall Street ahead of the two-day FOMC meeting, which gets underway today. Street largely expects the Fed to hold rates unchanged as inflation remains persistent. Shares of Tesla surge after it clears a key hurdle in introducing its advanced driver assistance technology in China. Asian markets trade largely higher, tracking gains from Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty is also suggesting a higher start for the Indian market. Crude prices slip about 1%. Brent trades around $88 a barrel as the United States makes a renewed effort to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, while gold prices rise marginally ahead of the Fed meeting, and a weaker dollar also aids the move. Nestle India head Suresh Narayan, in response to the controversy on added sugar in baby food products, says the company is compliant with the law of the land, claims added sugar has been reduced by 30% over the last 5 years, and the company is testing zero sugar variants for infant food in India. In key earnings to track, Indian Oil Corporation and REC will report fourth quarter numbers today. Also watch for numbers from Exide and Havells from the broader market. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines, but the bigger one is that we've seen a good handover coming in from Wall Street. It was a green-looking screen there, and that is something which is reflecting in the Asian markets as well right now. So if you look at something like a Nikkei, it's up around 1.5%. We have the Japanese index, which is up 0.2%. The Hang Seng is seeing gains of 0.4%. Across the board, it is green. The Shanghai too in the green right now. We have the Kospi as well, which is sitting with gains of around 0.6%. The Japanese yen has strengthened sharply after hitting that 160 mark against the dollar. Yesterday, it hit a record low. So that's a positive thing. The Chinese manufacturing data, the growth has eased a little in the month of April to 50.4. And we have the March Japan industrial output as well, which is coming at 3.8% versus an estimate of 3.4%. So some macro data in the Asian markets, but we do have the GIFT Nifty that will come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be in the green. A 37-point uptick is what the implied open's suggesting right now. So after a good day yesterday, it could be another day in the green for our own markets as well. Well, let's move on now and talk about the U.S. markets. Wall Street ended higher on Monday as investors gear up for the Federal Reserve policy meeting and the economic data scheduled for this week. The S&P added over 0.3%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq gained 0.35%. Dow Jones also advanced more than 140 points. The Federal Reserve is all set to release its interest rate announcement tomorrow. The street expects the central bank to keep the borrowing costs unchanged. CNBC's Pippa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes as investors weighed on key economic data, a big week of corporate earnings, and a Fed meeting on Wednesday. The Dow up 146, the S&P 500 added 16, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq rising 55 points. Tesla shares spiked today after the car maker passed a key hurdle to roll out self-driving in China. Regulators ruled that its cars passed the country's data security requirements. The move could lead to the rollout of Tesla's full self-driving tech in the world's largest EV market. The announcement came as CEO Elon Musk was in Beijing and met with China's Premier Li Qiang. Tesla faces stiff competition in China against homegrown rivals, including BYD and NIO. Renting is now cheaper than buying a home in all 50 of the largest U.S. metro areas. A new study from Bankrate looked at the typical monthly mortgage payments and rent. The average mortgage payment was $2,703 per month, while the average rent was $1,979 per month, a nearly 40% gap. In 21 metro areas, the average monthly cost of owning a home is at least 50% more expensive than renting. Bankrate says high home prices, mortgage rates, and low inventory are creating headwinds for home buyers. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Okay, let's also listen into some important opinion coming in from market experts on the expectations of a rate cut this year and also on the overall U.S. market outlook.
For a period of time, I've been saying, the odds of no cuts have gone up. I think now it's 50-50. The most recent inflation data has certainly been disappointing any way you look at it, headline or core, and things that have already been stalling. So this is the third month in a row where inflation looks like it's moving sideways at a number that is distinctly above 2%, closer to 2.7, 2.8 at the core for PCE. So I think 50-50, whether or not there are any cuts this year. And I think there's now even market chatter of a possible hike. I think that's not the likely outcome, but that's also starting to get into the conversation.
Fact is, the inflation fight is not easy. So you'll remember on this show, I used to ridicule the idea of 6 cuts. Goldman Sachs first came out with that.
Right.
And even 3 cuts.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised at this meeting. Obviously, everyone's expecting to hold steady. They'll announce something on the balance sheet, reducing their Treasury runoff. And that's an accommodative move in and of itself. But I'm not sure we'll have 2 cuts, 1 cut, or no cuts for the rest of the year. No doubt the risk is leaning towards the 1 to no cuts for the rest of the year. We'll see.
All right, that's the global market action and opinion, but how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have a research team joining in to tell you what the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hi guys, a very good morning to all of you. So Darshan, let me come across to you first up. What is the market setup looking like today? And tomorrow is the holiday as well.
Morning, Sonal. So it was a good start to the week that we saw both Sensex and Nifty regaining their Friday's losses, and financials are now back in the leadership position. And it's being led by heavyweights like ICICI Bank from the private sector and SBI from the PSU space. And you can gauge the buying interest in both these counters if you look at their delivery numbers. ICICI Bank on Monday saw delivery of more than rupees 1,400 crore, and for SBI, it was more than rupees 600 crore. And together, both these counters contributed more than 50% to the gain of Nifty and more than 60% to the gain of Nifty Bank. Even other financial names like HDFC Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank and Axis Bank too saw huge delivery. Even in the mid-cap space, some stocks saw huge delivery on the back of news flow, and those stocks were BSC, Vodafone Idea, Ireda and Yes Bank. Now talking about the index move, remember the last week we were talking about the sharp downtick seen in volatility index, but on Monday, volatility index was up 12%, recording biggest single day gain in nearly 3 months. So what does it indicate? Next few days are at least not going to be easy on volatility front. But the question is, did this move in volatility index had any impact on market in Monday's session? The answer is no. We had broader market indices, both Nifty Bank and mid-cap index scaling record highs, and even benchmark indices of Sensex and Nifty are closing in on record levels. The frontliners were up in the range of 1 to 3%. But this move did not reflect in the flows at least. On Monday, the good part is FIs have turned buyers after selling for last 5 consecutive sessions.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Sudarshan, for those cues. Vamakshi is joining us now. She'll list out all the stocks which are on our radar today. Hey, Vamakshi.
Well, hey Sonal, let me first start off with Birla Soft. The company reported a miss as far as the revenues are concerned. The margin is a beat. Dollar revenue growth came in at 1.6%, lower than what the street was anticipating, and however, the net profit is up almost 11.7%. Tata Chemicals reported a downtick of 21% in its revenue. Margins have contracted sharply, and the company has reported a loss of 850 crores as compared to a profit of 709 crores in the same quarter last year on account of an impairment loss. Shoppers Stop reported a 13.2% jump in its revenues, but the net profits were much higher at 62.3%. Vesuvius India's margins have expanded sharply from 15% to 21%, and the net profit as a result is seeing a sharp jump of almost 59%. KEC International also in focus. They have received new orders worth 1,040 odd crores. RVNL has received an LOA for a project worth 439 crores from the Southern Railway. NMDC has gone ahead and increased lump ore prices by almost 400 and fines by 200 per ton. And lastly, let's also focus in on Linde India. SEBI has passed interim order against the company, and the allegations include failure in obtaining shareholders' approval for material related party transactions undertaken with Praxair India and irregularities in respect of business agreement entered by Linde with PIPL.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that, Vamakshi. Let's talk about all the cues from the F&O space now. Manglam is joining in. Good morning, Manglam.
Good morning. So the headline yesterday was the Nifty Bank hitting a fresh record high after a spate of underperformance, and that was a big positive. And other indices also followed. We had the Nifty, which is just below its record high, a couple of 100 points away. And we have the Nifty Mid-Cap Index, which hit a record high on Friday as well, when the other indices weren't doing well. We have both the institutions buying in the cash market, the FIIs and the DIIs. But more importantly, remember yesterday we saw a lot of purchase in index futures by the FIs after them selling for 2 sessions in May series so far. So yesterday they bought about 3,600 crores in index futures. While a lot of it was short covering, 15,000 short contracts covered, we also saw nearly 37,000 long contracts being added. So that's telling you that there's a delta of nearly 50,000 contracts, and that's reflected in the numbers as well. The FIs going into yesterday's trading session were just 35% long. With the markets moving higher, they were propelled to cover shorts, add longs, and their long exposure increased to 43%. And on the other side, the net short contracts that they had, which were close to around 1 lakh, has now come down to around 46,000 itself. The key trigger today will be both Nifty Bank as well as Nifty Financial Services weekly options expiry. That's largely because tomorrow is a holiday, so financials will continue to be in focus. And ahead of that, the magic number 50,000 call on the Nifty Bank has the maximum open interest. On the way down, we have the 49,300 put extremely active as well. What does the Nifty options setup say? 22,600 call writers had to cover their positions. Now they're positioning themselves for 22,800. So let's see whether we go ahead and cross a record high in today's trading session. And at the lower level, we have 22,600 put extremely active too. Biocon is the stock that I'm watching out for. We had alerted that it may get into FNO ban, and FNO ban is what it is in.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. We'll slip into a break now. Up next, Nestle India head Suresh Narayan in response to the controversy on added sugar in baby food products. We'll get you all the excerpts of that conversation on the other side. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Well, Nestle India's chairman and managing director Suresh Narayanan has responded to the controversy regarding the added sugar in baby food products. Speaking to Mangla Malu, he added that the company is compliant with the law of the land and also claimed that added sugar has been reduced by 30% over the last 5 years, and the company is testing zero sugar variants for infant food in India. Listen in.
I think there has been no formal communication, but I think we enjoy a very professional and a very cordial relationship with FSSAI. They have indicated to us that they would like to pick samples of some of our products. Indeed, this is being picked up across manufacturers. So we wish to clarify that this is not just Nestle. There are different manufacturers. Their products will be picked up for analysis, whatever analysis that FSSAI chooses to do, and we respect that. And incidentally, infant formula, there is no question of any, there is no added sugar there at all. So therefore, the brand that comes into context is baby food, which is Cerelac. And I think one of the other things that to the best of our knowledge, and being a nutrition company, we should know it, is that there is no test for added sugar. Total sugars, there is a test, but added sugar, there is really no test. So it will depend on how the FSSAI would wish to evolve and wish to take this forward.
Why exactly has there been this divergence? What explains this between two geographies?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, Mangla, and I would indulge your time a bit because you know that I like to answer questions fully and not just give a tentative answer. Every formulation has got a nutrition profile and this is globally determined, Mangla. This is not something that I can decide in India, that this is what I want to do. This is globally determined. Fundamentally, it gives you the level of protein, the level of fat, the level of vitamin and minerals, and the level of carbohydrates that each serve of the product should contain for children below 18 months. Carbohydrates come from sugars. And sugars are of two kinds. Total sugars, and in total sugars, there is a subcomponent of added sugars. Naturally occurring sugars come from milk, from cereal. So for example, lactose, glucose, fructose from fruit purees and fruit juices. And there is an added component of sugar called added sugar. In the case of India, the FSSAI rules, which also follows global standards, indicates that you can add sucrose if it meets up to 20% of the requirement of carbohydrates, which translates on a per feed basis to 13.6 grams per 100 grams of feed. Against that, Nestle has got 7.1, which is fundamentally about 50% of the amount of added sugar. Now,
Right.
this added sugar, we have reduced it by 30% over the last 5 years. 2 more points. Point number 2, there are products in Europe and products in Asia which have both no added sugar and added sugar. The efficacy of the recipe based on local regulatory conditions and based on local habits determines the quantum of sugar that the product contains.
Okay, that is Nestle's response to baby food and the sugar components available there. But moving on, Ola Mobility's newly appointed CEO, Hemant Bakshi, quits after 4 months of taking over the role. The company is planning to go through a restructuring process that is likely to affect 10% of the staff as well. Ritu Singh joins us to fill in with all the details. Ritu, what are you picking up?
Yes, Hemant Bakshi has quit from his position as the CEO of Ola Mobility barely 4 months after he took over that role in January, and this coincides with the restructuring exercise that Ola Mobility is currently undertaking, which we understand will see nearly 200 employees, constituting 10% of the total workforce, getting laid off. Now, in a letter written by Ola founder Bhavish Agarwal to employees, which we've accessed, Bhavish Agarwal confirmed that Hemant Bakshi will be stepping down to pursue opportunities outside the company. He also alluded to substantial investments that Ola has made in areas of artificial intelligence and technology, which have led to significant cost advantages, and said that these changes will result in certain roles within the company becoming redundant without putting any number to it. Now, Hemant Bakshi is a Unilever veteran, had spent 30 years there before he took over as the Ola Mobility CEO, and our sources indicate that there may have been differences in the approach to business and strategy between Unilever veteran Hemant Bakshi and Bhavish Agarwal that may have led to his exit. As far as the restructuring is concerned, remember, these layoffs come ahead of a speculated IPO filing by Ola Mobility, the cab-hailing business. Although CNBC TV18 has not independently confirmed this report, its sister company Ola Electric, however, has filed for a DRHP, which is still pending SEBI's nod. Now, we understand Ola Mobility has yet to post a full year's profit, although A&I Technology's standalone business, which is essentially the India mobility business, clocked a segment-adjusted EBITDA of about 250 crores in FY23 and revenues of 2135 crores as per the company's statement. So the company is trying to restructure to cut costs, and also there is some churn at the top ahead of that speculated IPO.
Ritu, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. It's time to slip into a break. When we come back, we'll talk about all the cues from the commodities market. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. Well, let's talk about the mega exclusive News 18 interview. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sat down with Group Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi and News 18's Vilas Bare and Hari Prasad to discuss several issues which are on the agenda this election season. The Prime Minister rubbished allegations that central agencies were being misused against the opposition parties to win elections. He said elections cannot be fixed even for a municipality in India. Listen into excerpts from that interview.
ऑपोजिशन की सारी पार्टीज, राहुल गांधी, कांग्रेस, सब ये कहते हैं कि मोदी जी ये जो है मैच फिक्सिंग कर रहे हैं इस चुनाव पर। उन्होंने कहा है कि ईडी, सीबीआई और ईवीएम के बिना आप चुनाव नहीं जीत सकते। क्या कहेंगे आप?
ईवीएम का जवाब तो देश की सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दे दिया है, और 2014 में इनके पास ईडी थी, इनके पास सीबीआई थी, तो हार क्यों गए भाई? मेरे होम मिनिस्टर तक को जेल में डाल दिया था, तो हार क्यों तो गए वो? अगर ईडी सीबीआई से चुनाव जीते जाते तो ईडी सीबीआई का काम तो इतने सालों तक कांग्रेस ने किया है, वो जीत जाते हैं जी। और इतना बड़ा देश एक म्यूनसिपैलिटी का चुनाव फिक्स नहीं कर सकते हो भाई? जरा करके देखो, ये संभव होता है क्या फिक्सिंग? क्या क्या दुनिया को मूर्ख बना। लेकिन दुख इस बात का है कि ऐसी बातें करने वालों को आप मीडिया के लोग उनको पूछने के बजाय हमको पूछते हो।
मोदी जी थोड़ा सा
लेकिन इसमें एक बात चौकस है
जी,
मैं मानता हूं पिछले कई दिनों से इंडिया अलायंस के लोग इतने निराश हो चुके हैं कि अभी उनको बहाने ढूंढना बहुत जरूरी बन गया है, क्योंकि पराजय के बाद भी लोगों के सामने जाने के लिए उनको इसलिए मैं समझता हूं शायद वो अभी से ये सारे तर्क ढूंढ रहे हैं कि पराजय के तर्क क्या होंगे, शायद उसी की उनकी इंटरनल एक्सरसाइज है ये।
Okay, that is the Network 18 exclusive. But for that, let's move on and talk about the commodity markets. Manisha Gupta is joining us with all the update as always. Hey, Manisha, good morning.
Morning, and thank you for that. You know, the street is reacting to the China services PMI data, which has dropped to a 3-month lows, and that does seem to be weighing on commodities in some sense. In any case, we've been looking at one-way street. All the commodity prices have been rising, especially the base metal prices. Copper is hit at 2-year highs at $10,040 a ton. But after this news, there is a bit of a profit taking that you have seen across street, including copper. Iron ore prices have slipped. Steel prices, which had been surging, also fell by nearly 0.5% in the overnight markets. It also is going to be about the U.S. monetary policy decision that comes in tomorrow. The China PMI data that comes in on Thursday are some of the cues that the street will watch out for now. Having said that, the precious metal prices have seen some buying come back. The gold prices are headed for a third monthly gain. Gold is up 5% in April, and silver is gained up by 8% as well. The central bank buying, the safe haven buying in the month of April as well have been supportive factors.
Okay, all right. So that's what's happening in the commodity markets. Thank you so much, Manisha, for joining us today. And that's all we have on Power Breakfast today. But do stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next with all the market action. Stay tuned.